Welcome, Deadscape Diaries viewers. You're about to hear a tale that will make you question what lingers in the darkness, the places you thought you knew, the spaces you walk through every day without a second thought. But tonight, we dive into a story that happens in the quiet hours, when the last bell rings, when the halls are empty, but something remains. Tonight, let me take you into the unsettling world of a school janitor who discovered that some things don't just linger in the shadows, they wait. So, sit back, turn down the lights, and listen carefully. This is the Janitor's Watcher. I've been working the night shift at Briarwood High for more years than I care to count. The job's never bothered me. Cleaning up after students, mopping the gym floor, scrubbing classrooms. It's a lonely, quiet job, but I've always been fine with that. The building's big, and when the last bell rings, it feels like the school just closes up, like it's exhaling after a long day. It's just me, the broom, and the echo of my own footsteps. But that night was different. I had just finished cleaning the last of the classrooms and was making my way down the hallway by the auditorium when I noticed it. The lights were flickering, just like they do sometimes in old buildings, but this time, it felt different. It wasn't the usual intermittent buzz. No, this was too much. The bulbs flashed twice, then went out completely, leaving me in the dark. Great, I muttered to myself. I pulled out my flashlight and clicked it on, the beam cutting through the blackness. The hall was silent, too silent. But it wasn't just the silence that unsettled me, it was the air. It was colder. And still. I pushed the door open to the storage room and flipped the light switch. Nothing. That's when I heard it, a faint rustling sound. At first, I thought it was just the wind outside rattling the windows, but the sound was coming from inside the building. From somewhere near the auditorium. I froze. There's something about old schools, something about the way they settle at night. A groan here, a creak there. But this wasn't that. This was different. The rustling was too deliberate, too steady. I couldn't ignore it. My pulse quickened as I made my way toward the auditorium. My feet shuffled against the tile floor, the sound loud in the quiet. Each step I took made me more uneasy, but I kept moving forward. I'd heard strange noises before. Maybe it was just a door banging in the wind, or one of the pipes groaning. But when I pushed open the auditorium doors, my breath caught in my throat. The room was dark, save for a sliver of moonlight spilling through the cracked windows, casting long shadows across the seats. The dust in the air seemed to hang in the stillness. And then, from the corner of my eye, I saw it. A figure. I snapped my head toward it, but in the dim light, I couldn't tell what it was at first. It was just a shape, tall and still, standing at the far edge of the stage. I couldn't make out much beyond the silhouette. The shape was motionless, and for a second, I thought maybe it was just a shadow. But no. It was too tall to be a shadow, too solid. My heart pounded in my chest as I stepped further into the room. The hairs on my neck stood on end. That's when I saw her. A woman. She stood at the edge of the stage, facing away from me, her long black dress flowing around her ankles. Her hair hung in matted strands, covering her face. Her arms were hanging limply by her sides, and her posture was wrong, too wrong. She didn't seem to have a spine, like she was just hanging there. I felt a shiver crawl down my spine. My gut was screaming at me to leave, but my feet were glued to the floor. I don't know why, but I took a step closer. My flashlight flickered again, the light dimming before it came back on, and when it did, the woman, she was gone. Just like that. I blinked, and the stage was empty. No woman. No movement. Nothing. It was nothing, I told myself. Just your imagination, Ed. Just a trick of the light. But the pit in my stomach told me it wasn't. I turned to leave, but then I heard it. A faint rustling. The sound of movement, this time coming from the back of the auditorium. It was slow, deliberate, almost like something was crawling. My breath caught. It couldn't be. Was it one of the kids? I thought. Maybe it was some dumb prankster who'd sneaked into the building to scare the janitor. I forced my feet to move, heading for the exit, but before I reached the doors, I heard a whisper. "You shouldn't be here." The words were cold, hollow. They echoed in my mind, making my skin crawl. I spun around, my heart in my throat, but there was no one there. No one. I felt like I was being watched, like something was just out of sight, waiting. But I didn't wait to find out. My instincts kicked in, and I bolted for the door, the flashlight clutched tightly in my hand. I didn't look back. I ran down the hall, through the corridors, my shoes slapping against the floor as I raced toward the exit. But just before I reached the front doors, I heard it again, the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps. The kind that follow you. They were behind me. I couldn't breathe. My legs felt like lead. I couldn't move fast enough. I burst through the door and into the cold night air, slamming it shut behind me. My chest heaved as I tried to steady my breath. I didn't stop running until I reached my truck, and even then, I didn't feel safe. I thought I was done with it. Thought I had left whatever that thing was behind. But every time I close my eyes, I hear the whisper again. You shouldn't be here. And now, every time I walk past the auditorium, I feel that cold presence. Like someone's still watching me. I thought I knew this building. Thought I understood its creaks and groans. But I was wrong. Some things don't belong in the dark. And that woman, whatever she was, she's still there, waiting. Well, there you have it. A simple job, mopping floors, cleaning classrooms, turning into something far darker than anyone could ever expect. The kind of thing that follows you long after the last door has been locked. But I have to ask, what do you think? Was it just a trick of the mind, or is there something truly watching us, lurking in places we thought we knew? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you've experienced something like this yourself, well, we might just share it in a future episode. Remember, sometimes the darkest things are the ones we can't see, until it's too late. If you enjoyed tonight's story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to keep the nightmares coming. And as always, be careful where you walk in the dark, because sometimes, it's not just your own shadow following you. Thanks for watching Deadscape Diaries. Until next time, stay safe, and remember, you're never truly alone.